Welcome back to Learn Data. I'm Nilesh, and today we are going to take a detour from pandas and look at regular expressions. So in this particular video, we are going to look at what is a regular expression, regex, and why is it needed, how we can create those, what are the meta characters involved in creating these regular expressions, and then we'll talk about what are sequence lists and what are raw strings, how do we use them, and look at couple of examples that we can code up. So let's get into Jupyter notebook. I've already created the Jupyter notebook and imported the usual two libraries, NumPy and pandas, and today this is a new library re that we need to import so that we can use the regular expressions package for finding patterns. So what we are essentially going to do today is find patterns, and these would be very relatively simple, but it will give you a general conceptual idea of how things work, and then when we put together the small concepts, it will help you imagine and find much larger patterns in the data strings that you are looking at. So here for data we just have this one string, and it is purposely made like this on two lines, and it has characters in them. So the characters that are alphabets, so anything from a to small z, capital A to capital Z, 0 to 9 the digits, and underscore, these are all alphanumeric characters. And in this particular string s we have both alphanumeric, which are all of these, and then we have non-alphanumeric, which is ampersand and backslash and this square bracket. So those are all alphanumeric, non-alphanumeric characters embedded in that string. And another term that you would have to know when dealing with regex, and that is meta characters. So meta characters, as we saw in the previous slide, it is the dot, then you have the caret, dollar sign, star, plus, question mark, curly braces, square brackets, backslash, pipe, and open and close parentheses. So we are going to use all of those today to create these regular expressions to find patterns that exist in this string s or some other string. So let's get started. First, what we will do is look at some commands that we are going to use today in getting this regular expression to work and see the output. So methods or commands. The first one is match. So when we are writing the code, the way we would write is, let's say m is the variable in which we are going to store the output. We want to type re.match and then open close parenthesis, and inside that would be your pattern, and then here would be your string. Okay, so that's the syntax. Now for simplicity, what we are going to do is we are going to replace the word pattern by a word p, and the word string by the word s. So we would just use p and s for when we are writing the code right here. Okay, so m is just a variable. Now what match does is it returns an object. So it returns an object. Okay, and the way it searches is it looks for the pattern that you are specifying at the beginning of the string. Now here, let's say the pattern that we are working with is p is equal to, let's say we are looking at a and ampersand. That's the pattern that we are looking at, want to search for. To search that, we are going to look into this string and look if the string starts with a and ampersand, and this string does not start with a and ampersand. So what is going to happen is we are going to get an error. So if we run this, and we don't get anything back because the output is none. If we want to see the none, we can go ahead and print that. So when we print this, here we can see that the output is none, no object was written. Now if we go back up here and delete that initial part, run that string again, and then come back down here and run this. Now when we run the print, we can see that there is an object that was returned by this particular command here. And interesting things to note here is we have the match, which is the string that we see. Then we have the span, which is the starting and end position. So if we print out the string here, the starting location is 0, which is A, that is here, and that's what we see in the start position. The end position is 2, before 2. So the way we want to read it is from 0 up to 2, but not including 2. So it's 0 and 1, which is before this 2, right? So that's the span. And there are other methods that we can use along with this match method that tell us this inside story from that object that was just written. And those methods are m.group. So let's go ahead and print all of those. So m.group, and then we have, I'm going to copy and paste this to our typing. There is start, and we have end, and the span we just saw. So when we run this, here we can see the character, the substring that was matched and returned, the starting position of the match, the end position of the match, which would be before 2, not at 2, and the start and end position for that particular match. So this is one way. This is called match. It looks for first, it looks at the beginning, of a string. Okay, so that's very important distinction between this and the second method I'm going to mention now, which is called search. So let's call it sr re.search, and again we can give it the same P and S pattern. So what this returns is also, it returns an object, and it looks through, it scans the entire string. Okay, so it looks through entire string as opposed to just the first string. Sorry, it looks through the entire string as opposed to the first, opposed to the beginning of the string, which m does, which the match does, and returns the first occurrence, the first time it happens. Okay, so that's what search does. And when we print this, so let's go and copy, paste it here. I'm going to change this to SR. Now when we run this and run this, here you can see that we got the same span back, because that was the when the search started scanning that string, it returned us the first occurrence of that string, even if there were any other occurrences in that string. So to help explain that, let's say if we have this string S, I'm going to copy this one and create a new string called S1 right here, and then embed these ampersand within that string at multiple locations. So now we have a new string S1. Here if we look at re.match and provide the same string and S1, here we are going to get the very first, which is this one. Now if we delete this and run this, we are not going to get anything back, because the string, there's nothing at the beginning of the string that matches the pattern P that we are trying to search, right? Now if we use the search instead, here we are going to get match, and the match is at span 6, 8, and the 6 is, so this is 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 6, so this is the 6 and 7 before 8. So that's the first occurrence of a and ampersand that search was able to find after the beginning, where the match failed earlier. In addition to this, there is another command called findall. What findall does is it returns a list of all matches for that particular pattern in the string. So here there are 3 occurrences and we got all 3 of those matches back. Similarly, there is another object called, so let's go ahead here, and I'm going to add the findall. So f is equal to re.find all p and s. So this returns a list, and this looks through entire string. Next there is find all. So finditer, and it again looks through entire string. So let's go back here and replace this with finditer, and what we see here is we got an object back. So to extract the items from the object, we can save it in a variable m and then run a for loop to print everything. So we can print I dot group, the same items that we printed above. We can get the start position of the match, and we can get the end position, as well as we can get the span of the match. So as you can see, there were 3 matches, 1, 2 and 3, which we saw earlier in the findall. However, here we have additional details as to the start position, end position and the span as of where it all matched in this particular string s1. So that was really important. And here we can also, the group can also be used to look at a specific group if there is one, but in this case there is not, so I'm just going to delete that. So you can specify group 1 or group 2 within the parentheses for that particular command that we typed. Now once we know this, we can now go back to our original string s and start looking at how meta characters work. And put this question mark. Okay, and create some cells. Now our string s looks like this, and if we want to find a pattern, say p is equal to abc in that string, can we find it? So let's see, re dot match, and we can type p and s. So here we cannot find it because it doesn't exist in this particular string. What about a and so this we know that it is there and we are able to find. Let's use find all so that we can actually see what's being returned. So we have this particular item. Now if we use square brackets and if we put abc inside the square brackets, what it is telling Python is find either the character a or the character b or the character c within this particular string s, and then return a list of all those. So this is what we are getting. So we get list of all of the characters a, b and c that exist in this particular string s, and if we want to find the location of where these exist, we can do that by finditer that we saw earlier. Okay, and for abc we can also use match, and here we can see that if we look at the group, we got the a, and then if we look at the span, we can see that at location 0 and before 1 we have the match for a, which was the first occurrence, and therefore it was returned. If we remove a and just put B and C, in that case none is there, therefore we cannot get anything back. But if we replace the match by search, here we can get 4 and 5. Okay, so 0, this is location 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was a search was able to find character B at location 4, and therefore that was returned. However, if we use find all, it is not bound to return only the first value. It will return everything back, and those are all the places where it found the characters B and character C. Now, in addition to specifying ABC, we can also specify A-C. What that tells Python is that find everything in that range from A to C. Okay, and instead of A to C, we can also use numbers. So in this particular case, we have numbers running from 1 to 9, and if we specify 1 to 9, we get all occurrences of the numbers 1 through 9 that occur in that string S. If we change that, and if we say we need occurrences only from 7 to 9, then the 1 and 2 that exist are dropped. And another point to note here is when we specify the range 7 to 9, the 9 is included in the search and it is returned, as you can see here. Now, if we are looking at meta characters, so let's say if you want to find something like a $, which is a meta character, and that helps us find matches at the end of a string. We'll come back to that in a minute. So when we run this, we are getting a return because the $, is a meta character and it's treated as such when performing the find all search operation. And to tell Python that this is to be considered not as a $, but as a pattern to match, we want to use the escape, which is a backslash, and that tells Python that now you can search that as a string, as a substring within the string S, and therefore we now have the match back. So if we look at the search, we can get the location. So it's at 33, 34, which most likely is this particular part. Similarly, if we use the square bracket, open square bracket, and we look for that, which is right here, we get that back matched when using search. Had we not used the backslash, we would get an error because this is a meta character that is used in regex. Okay, so backslash is our friend, and we are going to use a lot of backslash in today's video. Moreover, in addition to using backslash, if we use the square brackets and put the $, inside the square bracket, what that tells Python is that this has to be considered as not as a meta character. So if a meta character is put within square brackets, it loses its feature as a meta character. Okay, so it becomes a normal object, normal substring, and then we can search for that in the string S, and we get the return location where it exists in that particular string. Okay, so those are two important points there. Now, similar to this, there is another way we can search, which is using caret. So when we type caret and A, and after that if you do the search for the pattern, we get what we are telling with the caret is the string has to start with A, and therefore we got this back. If we change this A to B or say N and we run this, we are not getting anything back because the string S starts with a character A and not N, right? So whenever we want to narrow down the search, where let's say for example we have a string which starts with a name of a particular company, and we want to search all the company names that start with that particular character, then we can search using this caret operator here. Similar to now, when using the caret operator, we have to be very careful, because there is another use of caret operator when it is put inside the square brackets. Okay, so when put inside the square brackets, it tells Python to search for a match that is not A. Okay, complement of A. So find everything that matches everything except that it matches A. So when we run this, we get the first occurrence, which is AND. So that's what matches in the string S, which is not A, and it could have been anything else, it doesn't matter. But the important point is it is not going to return A back. If we put find all on this one, we are going to get all the characters back, including, so we got alphanumeric and non-alphanumeric, but we won't get A back, because we are telling that with this caret sign inside the square braces that return everything except A. So that is not matched. Now moving on, let's look at some special sequences. So let me go ahead and change that. So special sequences. So what these are inbuilt methods or inbuilt provisions for helping regex use to be very friendly. So instead of typing a long expression, just typing one word will help us get there. So I'm going to pull the expression S right here. Now if we want to find all the numbers in this particular expression 0 to 9, we can do that. So let's say if we do re.findall and we specify the pattern, so let's go ahead and do that. So P is equal to, and we can put that backslash small d. When we do that and run P comma S, we get all the numbers, we get everything. So everything is matched in that particular string S except only numbers are matched. So the alphabets are not matched, and non-alphanumeric elements are not matched. So A, B, C, D, that is not matched. The ampersand and square brackets are not matched. Only the digits are matched. If we change this small d to capital D, then let me create that on a new line. So copy this. If we change this to capital D, now we are going to match everything except the numbers. Okay, so here as you can see, we got all the letters, alpha, A, B, C, D, everything back. We got ampersand, square brackets back. We didn't get any numbers, and that's what using capital D does. Moreover, let's look at another one. I'll copy this. Now there is a way we can also match white spaces in the string, and here we have the spaces right here. There's one here, here, and there's one here and here. So if you want to find those, what we can do is type small s, and what small s does is it finds all the blank or all the white spaces that are within that string. And the reason why I'm going through all these cases is because we can use these to split a string or modify the string in a specific way to extract information. So bear with me, I will go through this and then I'll show some examples on where the use cases of all of these, or at least some of these. And in addition to small s, there is also capital S, which is complementary to the small s. So if you type capital S and run this, here we are getting everything back from the string S except the spaces. okay, the blank spaces that were right here. So a capital S is complementary of small s. And as for giving you the full information, what small s does is it is finding spaces such as dash t, so tab, then it is finding spaces such as your new line characters, so new line characters, and then I think carriage return, and after that there is form field and couple of form field. So these are different ways, and there's v. I think this is, I'm not sure about this one, but I think this is page break, but I'll leave it as question mark here. So combination of all of these is preserved in the backslash small s. So by writing this just backslash small s, we don't have to put all of these things together to remove all the blank spaces from a string. So that just makes it a lot easier to get the formatted string back. Now moving on, let's look at another meta character usage of backslash, which is w. So I'm going to go down here, copy this, and small w. So what small w does is it returns all the alphanumeric characters only. So it's not going to return the non-alphanumeric characters such as ampersand and square brackets. Underscore is an alphanumeric character. I looked through the docs, and as you can see, we do get the alpha underscore back when we are running the w. Now when we have a capital W, and you guessed it right, we get everything back that is not alphanumeric. So it's a complement of the small w. Moving on, there is one last method that I want to share right now, is using backslash small b. We have re.match, or we can use the re.search, and here the pattern that we are going to use is, let's go ahead and create the pattern first. P is equal to backslash b, and then let's call this ampersand, or we can, for this example, let's create another string as well. So let's create a string s is equal to data science, and we have the b. Now if we search the p and s, we would expect that we get the match back, and if you put data again here, the what backslash b does is it tries to find this substring that we have given in the pattern, either at the beginning or at the end of the string. Okay, now this, when we run this, it's going to give an error, none, because here what backslash b, it also has another meaning in Python, so we have to make it as a raw we have to make it as a literal string, and therefore raw string. So therefore we have to put a r in front of that. When we put the r, we get the match back, and as you can see, the substring location is given in the span, which is between 0 and 4, and that is right here. So that was the last use of backslash that I wanted to share. Now moving on, let's look at the meta characters that we talked about earlier. And in those, we are first going to begin with a star, and the star is what we earlier saw we can use to kind of identify repeat sequences. So our sequence is S. This now it has changed. it go? Okay, this I'm going to copy this. S is equal to that. Okay, so we have the string back. Now if we were to find a match, so let's say P is equal to A, B star and, so that's our pattern. Okay, re dot find all P comma S. Now what we are trying to find here is we are trying to find A and substring that matches this, where the star means that B can occur 0 times. It means that this is a good match, or it can occur once, in which case this is a good match, A, B, and where B is occurring only once, or it can occur any number of times up to infinity. So even this is a good match, where the B occurs 4 times between A and ampersand. So the match has to start with the letter A and it has to end with the letter with ampersand, and in between those two the B can occur 0 through infinity times. Okay, so when we run this, we get all the occurrences of A, B, B star and ampersand right here. Now in addition, so this therefore is the star is used for a repeat. So the any character that is preceding to this, it tries to find how many times it is repeating. Now if we go ahead and use a plus sign instead of the star sign like this, then the biggest difference is there has to be at least one B between A and ampersand to qualify as a match when using the plus sign. So this A without B, like A ampersand, this is not a match when using the plus sign. However, this is there because at least one B has to be there. But then the maximum number of B's can be anything. It can go from 1 to 4 or infinity. Okay, so that's the second point. And then there is another point where we can use a question mark. What question mark tells is it's binary. So the B occurrence has to be either once or it can be 0. So as you can see here, the B does not occur, so 0 times, and in this one the B occurs once. So that's the difference between using the star, the plus sign, and the question mark for repeats. Okay, beyond this there is one more, and let's look at what that is. So I'm going to copy paste it here. In curly braces, if you put the limit, so see, let's say if I put 2 and 3, what this is telling is the number of B's that have to be there between A and ampersand. Minimum 2 B's have to be there, but not more than 3. So when we run this, we get only 1 back because this does not qualify because it's less than 2. This does qualify because there are 2, and this does not qualify because the number of B here is 4, that is between A and ampersand. So only one possible match was there, and that was written as we can see right here. Okay, similarly there's another way. So this is for repetition, so let me make that clear. Repeats, that's for repeats. Now if you look at matches where the substring has to be at either at the end of the string, so let's look at the end match end of a string. Here let's say if our string is data science data and our pattern is we are trying to find A. So let's say if we have pattern where this is there, and let's see re dot findall, and we do S and P, sorry, P and S. So here with the dollar sign we were able to find the match at the end of the string. So if you put DATA, so that's what we get, that was match at the end of the string. If you put a data 1 there, that probably make it clear that that was a match that was from the end of the string. So those were the ways in which we could do the matches between the strings. Now moving on, all the ways in which we tried to do the matches, if we were to use them together, there is a way we can group them, and the way we can do that is this. So let's say we have the same, if I can pull that original string back, put it here. Okay, now if we have a pattern where we want to find multiple options, so let's say A or B or C, if you want to find either of these characters in there, and then we can use the group by. So the group is just using these parentheses to include these conditions inside of it. So find all PS, and that's a way we can get matches. So group can be used to combine a large number of matches like patterns to get very specific details out of a given string that we have. Now so far we have talked about just finding the matches, and I'm sure you're wondering how and where these can be useful. So let's look at some of the use cases. And I'm gonna put some new cells here. Okay, so we can go ahead and create a string, new string, and say this is Monday, and that's it. Okay, so that's our string. Now if we want to split that string based on the conditions that we have done earlier, we can create a pattern. So pattern, let's say we want to split it at wherever there are spaces, so we can specify the smallest and then say re.split p comma s, and we get the list back, which is now split based on the blank spaces that exist in that particular string. And moreover, we can also replace items within a string by using regex. So let's look at an example of that. So I'm going to copy this, and here instead of split I'm going to say replace, and between here I'll put another comma, and we can replace it with say a star, and see how a star is not going to work. Re has no attributes replace, of course it does not, it has to be sub, sorry. So here we can see that we have replaced the spaces that are within this particular string with a star. Okay, next we can also so what we have done here is we did the substitutions, but we do not know how many replacements we have done, and there is another provision that is there. It tells us how many times the replacements were done, and to do that you have to type n, and this will return us a tuple which gives us the new string that was after replacement and the number of times it was replaced. So 4 times, so we have 1, 2, 3 and 4 stars in this particular string that was replaced. So those were very simple use cases. We'll go through some much more involved cases in exercises as well that will be coming up in a few weeks. Finally, before ending this video, I want to talk about the raw string. We have used this, which was the R that we put before the backslash B earlier, and that's what we'll use here as well. So let's say if we have a string, today is, put a new line there, Monday, and then put some under backslash B again. So that's the string that we have, and now we are going to create a pattern where we want to search for whatever reason we want to search for the new line character, and we want to search for the backslash. Now if we were to go ahead and run this search, it's not going to work. Find all, and if we say P and S, so it's going to return null, because these already have a special meaning in Python. Now to tell Python that these need to be used as a raw string, we have to specify a small r outside the quotes on the left hand side, right, as shown right here. And now when we run this, we should get that back. So this has to go in the quotation marks, sorry. So when we run this, we get the matches back. And what happens when we put the quotation, when we put the square brackets, is that it tries to look for this and this separately. So if this matches, it returns it. When it's done with that, it will try to match this and send that back. Okay, that was it for this video. I know this was a long video, and if you are confused about this, I'd suggest going back through the video and trying to understand each and every step, how each of these works. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. I'll see you all in the next video. Please like, share and subscribe. It helps me stay motivated to create more interesting videos for you all. Thank you.